Hello, everybody. I hope you all are having a wonderful Sunday. I have been a little bit under the weather today. You might be able to tell from my throat that I have a little bit of a sore throat. I don't know if I'm going to be able to make it the full hour, but I'm going to try to stay as long as I can. I hope you all are doing well today. I hope that everyone is prosperous and in good health. I wish I was in better health today, but I'm a little bit under the weather, so I didn't get to go to church this morning. I did watch it online, and it was a good service. Well, tonight's video is going to be about the biggest changes that I've experienced since retiring. Now, if you have been watching my channel for any period of time, you know that I retired in January of this year. I was 55 years old when I retired. And hey, hey, Brent Mania, welcome to the live stream tonight. I appreciate you being here. Brent is one of Renee and Todd's people that's usually on their live stream. It's good to see you on here tonight. Hello. But I hope my voice can hold up. It sounds a lot worse than it actually is. But I did wake up with a little bit of a headache this morning, kind of a splitting headache, actually, to be honest with you. And Renee, welcome to the live chat. Please don't forget to subscribe, comment, and live this channel. Thank you, Renee. I appreciate that. And Todd. Good to see you guys on here. Well, as I was saying, I retired 6 months ago. I was 55 years old. So I retired a little bit earlier than a lot of folks are able to retire, which is a blessing. It's been a wonderful blessing for me to be able to have retired at the age of 55. So my retirement experience is not going to be the typical retirement experience that a lot of folks have, because I think the average retirement age is 62 or older. So a lot of folks don't retire at 55 like I was able to. Thank you, Renee. Yeah, I am a little bit under the weather, if you can tell from my voice. Mrs. Side Hustle, Carol, gave me something that she picked up at her karate school. My wife is a karate instructor, and so she's kind of like a daycare. A daycare worker is exposed to a lot of different things, different kind of diseases and stuff like that, flus and stuff like that. And so she's kind of like that. Hey, Dory, welcome to my live stream. I am glad that you're here. Looks like we've got the whole Rat Stash crew tonight. Good to see you all. So I want to talk about some of the biggest changes that I've experienced once I retired. So one of the biggest changes that I've experienced is that I don't get to see people. I don't have human interaction as often as I used to. When I went to a job every day, I would see people every day. And so I had a, daily contact with people and talk with people on a daily basis. Best crew in the world. Absolutely. And Marty, welcome in, Marty. Good to see you here tonight. So that's probably one of the biggest changes that I have experienced, is that I don't really see human beings every day other than my wife. Now, I do call and speak with my former work friends every now and then. We we uh, we call and talk with each other, but it's not very often. I mean, it's not like every day like we used to speak every day. So, but we do still have that contact, and I have a couple of close friends here in the Montgomery area um, that I'm able to spend time with, and so I will go to dinner with my friend named Jerry sometimes, and I have another friend that did some contracting work for me, and so sometimes we get together and um, do things. He's an electrician, but sometimes I will go, like I said, days without speaking to anybody outside of my wife. But I tell you one thing that has replaced my work friends is people that I have met on YouTube. I have met several people like Renee and Todd on YouTube. I have made friends with them, and so we communicate with each other on a pretty regular basis. I guess a lot of it is texting. Sometimes we call and talk to each other, but for the most part, we just text each other back and forth. But that's one of the biggest things is that my relationship pool, my friendship pool has really dwindled. I still have in contact with my brothers. I have two brothers that are still living. I had one brother that passed away, and family members. So I do have contact with them, and so I have those relationships. But it's not like I see people every day. But it's an unexpected thing that I have friends off of YouTube now. This is good. I love it. Another friend of mine, his name is Dash, and he has a YouTube channel that he's been on here before. His YouTube channel is Dallas Flippin', so he's been on here before. He might join us tonight. The next biggest change that I had is my sleep schedule. My sleep schedule has really changed since I don't have to be up at 6 o'clock every day. Um, I find myself staying up later. I will, eh, on a regular basis, I will stay up from 1:30 or 2:30 in the morning. So if you know me and you're a friend of mine, then you can call me at 1:30 in the morning and it's not too late. Because I have a tendency now to stay up later, and as a result, I sometimes sleep later. But I will say one thing about that staying up later. Sometimes I am not able to sleep later, so I end up losing sleep. So in some cases, I'm actually getting less sleep than I did when I was working on some days. But now I might go a day or two um, with very little sleep, and then I'll catch up on it the next day. But a lot of times when I'm up till 1:30 or 2 o'clock, I will be in the living room just watching TV. And when you own a lazy boy, that you will be once you roll that chair back, those eyes will close. It just happens. So a lot of times I'll be in my chair, just watching YouTube or watching TV or something on TV, and I will just lean back in my chair and I will fall asleep. Hey, CG, anime fan, um, good to see you on here tonight. Uh, I got your book in the mail this week, and I haven't started reading it yet, but I will. I do plan on starting to read that as soon as I. Excuse me, got the hiccups. As soon as I get a minute to do that. But it's good to see you on here, CG. But one of the things that I have found that that I do now that I never did before is that I will kind of lose track of time. I'll be here at my eBay office and I'll be listing, or I'll start working on an electronic project, and before I know it, the day is gone, and and so I don't I've just lose track of my time. Yep, you're welcome, CG. And I look forward to reading that book. Okay, we've got a new person here, Timothy Deck. I just retired and I am up during the night. Thanks for sharing about your sleep. I learned about your channel from Buzz's Retirement Garage. Just subscribe. Well, thank you. I appreciate it, Timothy, and welcome. Good to hear from you. Tell us a little bit about yourself, if you don't mind. Tell us like where you are in the country and what kind of work you did before you retired, and if y'all want to share, for those of you who are retired, some of the biggest changes you've encountered, please share that information. I'd love to hear from you. And if you have any questions that I haven't covered, please ask away. I look forward to hearing from you. Hello, everyone. The chat. And Renee and Todd says, welcome to the group at Timothy Deck. So one thing that I have to do as a retiree, as a recent retiree, I have to be intentional about what I'm going to be doing on any given day. So if I'm not intentional about my day, then like I said before, I can lose track of the hours. And before I know it, the day is gone and I haven't accomplished a thing. But you know what? I don't know that I really need to have to accomplish something every day. But I feel like I do. I don't know why that is. Dory says, if I am ever able to retire and still in good health, I definitely volunteer. Most likely it would have to do with dogs or seniors. Well, that's very noble, Dory. If I remember correctly, Dory, you're a lot younger than I am. Good evening, good folks. Colin McNamara, welcome back, Colin. Blessed Sunday to you all. Good to see you on here again, Colin. Thank you for joining us. And Britt Mania says, my dad, since retiring 8 years ago, never had trouble finding something to do from ConAgra Foods after 35 years. Yeah, that's one thing that my new friend Timothy, I've been watching Buzz's Retirement Garage before I retired, and I've also been watching another guy. I can't think of the name of his channel right now, but his whole channel is about retiring on a minimal income or something like that. But anyway, he said one of the pieces of advice that I picked up from those folks who have those retirement channels is that you have to have a plan when you retire that you're going to be doing something. Colin says, cheers. You have to have some kind of plan about what you're going to do. I've mentioned this before in previous videos. You don't want to just retire and not have a game plan, because that can lead to many days of not being productive at all. A lot of folks, it's said that when you retire and you just sit down, that you don't live real long after that. And I don't know what the statistics are on that. I've mentioned that before, that I really don't know what the statistics are. But you have to have some kind of thing that you're going to be retiring to. And for me, what I'm retiring to is, and what keeps me busy is, I have rental houses that I manage, and I sell items on eBay part-time. And I talk about that a lot on this channel. Those are some of the things that I do in retirement. And I also, recently have added repairing electronics, specifically repairing vintage video game consoles. I really am enjoying that, and I'm learning a lot about it as I'm watching YouTube and watching other channels and that are making repairs and learning from them. Timothy says, I'm in upstate New York, 61 years old, and work for Leidos as a data engineer. Had to retire, too much stress. I also listen to Josh Scanlon. I love retirement. Retirement is underrated. I could not agree with you more, Timothy. Retirement offers a freedom that most people have never had in their life until they are able to retire. I have felt like a weight was just taken off of my shoulders when I retired, and it's allowed me to do the things that I've always wanted to do that I couldn't do because I was sitting behind a desk. And Timothy says, debt free, 2 children. The last is in the final year of college, 9 years of paying for college. I am excited. Kids did 2 years community college and then a 4-year degree. I am proud of them. Yeah, you ought to be proud of them. They've really accomplished a lot. And CG Anime Fan says he's slightly too young to retire. Well, I appreciate you guys joining tonight's show, even though some of you are not retired. I appreciate the support that you're giving me tonight by coming on to the show and providing comments. But what are some things that you guys who are not retired yet, what are some things that you are thinking about in preparing for retirement? Rat Stash says, Timothy Deck, stress is so terrible. Congrats on being debt free. Now it's your turn to live like no other. Yep. And that's one thing about retirement is that you can't just drop the bomb one day and say, hey, I'm going to retire. I'm ready to retire, unless you have done some proper planning ahead of time. And some of the ways that you can plan for retirement, is you got to make sure that you can replace your income in retirement. You deserve the support. You're very kind and friendly. Thank you, CG. And Brent Mania, I'm 35, have a long way to go until retirement. Yep. I remember when I was 35 and I was thinking about retirement, and I was thinking how it was kind of like a unicorn. You think it exists, but it's just like a mythical creature. And sometimes when you're in your 30s and even in your 40s, you kind of feel like retirement is one of those things that might happen one day, but you're just really not sure if that's going to happen or not. And you're kind of unsure about how it's going to happen. So one of the things that I did to prepare for retirement is I got a job that I knew that I could get a pension from. When I was 29 years old is when I started working for the state. Now, I felt like at 29 years old, I was still young, but I felt like I was kind of behind the curveball as far as having a job that I could retire from, because with the state of Alabama, for retirement, you have to put in 25 years of service in order to get full retirement. Colin says he will turn 50 next month. It's going to be hard to retire. If that is me, I can't imagine the younger generations, especially if they work blue collar jobs, especially with this administration. Okay. Yeah, it seems like it's getting harder and harder for the younger folks to retire because they have to plan their own retirement. They don't. I mean, a lot of the people that are in the employment, it's just starting employment now, are finding themselves with no pension because their employer doesn't offer a pension. November is massive for our country. Yes, sir, Sam. Okay. So, it's, I think in some ways, a lot of the younger people are at a little bit of a disadvantage as compared to what I had the opportunity, and you can still find jobs with pensions. A lot of the state employment in different states still has state pension plans, and also a federal government has pension plans. So you can still find jobs that have pension plans, but I think they're becoming fewer and far between. I think that it's more difficult for younger people who are just entering the workforce to find jobs that are going to be able to provide a pension for them. So I think a lot of folks who are younger, who are just entering the workforce, are having to contribute to their own 401k or their own retirement plan in order to have a retirement. Brent says, my job never gives a raises. I work in a nursing home at Kitchen. I probably have to leave because working there, the money isn't good, unfortunately, and they wonder why people leave for different jobs. Yeah, and I'll tell you something else. A lot of the younger workforce is finding employment online, and pretty much, excuse me, pretty much people who are having to work off online or self-employment, they have to figure out their own plan for retirement, and what kind of pension plan they're going to have in retirement. And unfortunately, most of us are not good at planning, and a lot of us don't plan for retirement, and don't have that set up where we're putting money into it every month. I can tell you right now, I'm not old enough yet to receive Social Security, but Social Security was never designed as as a way to support yourself in retirement. I know a lot of people think that was the case. Social Security was put in place so that you could have a retirement, but it was only intended to be a supplement when it was started. This is one thing that I didn't know until I started researching about Social Security. It's not intended to be the retirement plan, and it's definitely not enough for most people to be able to support themselves on Social Security alone. Now, with Buzz's retirement garage, he is kind of in his channel. He talks about trying to live on Social Security alone, and so far he has been able to do that. But in most cases, unless you're just completely debt free, you're not going to be able to survive on Social Security by itself. Colin says our Social Security has been eaten up. So much bad government. 4 years ago, I was on the up. Then it changed. Putting $100 aside, couldn't do it in the last 3 years. And Dustin, welcome, Dustin. I am retired from the Air Force after 23 years now. Work for the federal government. The amount of money needed to retire debt-free, stress-free is hard to quantify. I agree with you completely, Dustin. I'm retired from the Air Force as well, but I didn't. Most of my time in the Air Force was not active duty. Most of my time in the Air Force was spent in the Guard and the Reserves. I did put in 8 years of active duty service, but the rest of it was actually, it was more like 10 years because I had some active duty service after I went in the Guard and Reserve because of deployments and that sort of thing during wartime. Timothy says, we'll be willing to sacrifice today for your future self. Don't get hung up on stuff. Save what you can. Keep a spiritual perspective. My wife and I sacrificed many years and did without. Yeah, and that's one thing Renee and Todd know, that we listen to Dave Ramsey, and one of the things that he says all the time is to get debt free. And one of one of the things that does for you is becoming debt free is it allows you the freedom to make decisions that are going to allow you to do other things, even, into retirement. Renee and Todd said it's tough too for us in 50s. Now employers are forcing us out of the workforce. Yep, that's true. Brent says, I think people my age don't plan for the future, for retirement. They just think of today. Is that safe to say? I would say yes, but it's not because your age group is a bad people are bad people. It's because we are, just human beings. We don't typically think ahead in a lot of things. Oh my goodness, Colin. As Timothy Deck, yes, sir. Dustin, thank you for your service, and Sam, thank you for your service as well. Thank you. And Dustin says, good deal. So you will have income coming in when you turn 60. Congrats. Thank you. Yeah. And Colin, I appreciate this. You certainly didn't have to do that, but thank you so much. May God bless America. We have a great country. God has blessed us. Matt, we grasp what God has given. Yep. Thank you. Thank you, Colin. That's very kind of you to give me that super chat. But as I was saying before, let's see. Marty says, "Do you know where you know my mom is getting married to your brother?" Yes, I did know that. Yeah, I'm very happy for them. My mom and her mom is engaged to my brother William. May, yeah, they're getting married in February. If I remember correctly, he told me they were getting married on February the 22nd. But in retirement, I have to be for my days. I have to be very intentional about what I'm going to be doing for my day, or it will just pass by, and before I realize it, the day is over, and I don't know what I've accomplished. But with the rental houses that I have, there's one I did a couple of videos on. I had to do an eviction and had to remove some long-term tenants from that house in February, and that was a real difficult time because I had to get them out. I had not been receiving any income from them, so I had to get them out. But then when I did get them out, there were all kinds of things that had to be fixed in the house because they kind of left it in a pretty bad shape. So I I took a lot of those projects on myself, and so I've been making those repairs myself to that house and getting it ready to rent again. I already have a person that's going to rent it, and so I've had a very um, short timeline that I've had to get this house ready in order to rent it out again, and I've had to do a lot of work to it myself. Which, if looking back, I probably shouldn't have done all the work myself. I should have hired somebody to do it. Then I could write that work off on my taxes, and it would have been rented sooner. But I decided to do most of the work myself. Timothy says, "Thank you for your service. We listened to similar podcast. I was in the Army Reserves and activated for Desert Shield. My father was on a destroyer in World War II. He has been gone since 1983. Well, I'm sorry that you lost your father, Timothy. And thank you for your service as well in the Army Reserves. I was actually in the Army before I joined the Air Force. When I was in the Army Reserves before I joined the active duty Air Force, and then I went active duty Air Force for 8 years, and then got out and went back into the reserves." Brent Mania says, "Have you ever had to take renters to court?" Yes, I have, and It's not fun, not fun at all. I had to hire an attorney and had to do an eviction, and then my attorney had to go back afterwards. And once we, well, he had to file some paperwork for us to get a judgment in order to pay for the damages. And so now we're still trying to recover those damages, and I still haven't received a dime from those tenants. Timothy says, yes, life is a mist. Don't blink. It goes by quick. It really does. Colin says, Sam, I work in the pest control business. I have seen some horror stories. I hear you. Okay. Yep. The video I have posted, if you want to go back and look at that sometime, the one that the first one that I posted, I've done an update since then, but the first one that I posted, you can see how bad it was inside. And they just destroyed the refrigerator. I had to take the refrigerator completely out, and it was a good refrigerator. It still worked, but they had busted all the shelves out of it and everything. Everybody who has served in the chat, thank you all. Thank you, Brent. Amen. And Colin says, Timothy Deck. Yes, sir. And Timothy says, good to be amongst those willing to serve. Yep. And we are a military family too. Very proud Navy vet. That's right. Todd is a Navy vet. I don't think he retired, but he did serve in the Navy. And welcome, Jim from Gumball Gold. Hotty toddy, Sam. I'm like number 5. Come on, people, and click that like button. Thank you, Jim. Yeah, you guys all click that like button and let me know that you are enjoying this live stream. God bless all our military, past and present. Yes, thank you. Thank you all that have served. And it was my honor and privilege to be able to serve in the military. And I'm just glad that I was able to do that. But most of my days are spent here at the office here. I call it my headquarters. It is the headquarters of where I do all my business. And I just jokingly call it my headquarters. I think it's funny because it's obviously a very small business that I run. So, yeah, Todd served 8 years, first Gulf War, 1985 to 1993. Yeah, thank you, Todd. CG Anime Fan says, I clicked the like button and subscribe. Wonderful. I appreciate that. Well, I have to flip my script because I have talked about everything on my first page so far, and I have other things to talk about. So Colin says, at Rash Stash, thank you, sir. But the third thing that has really changed in my life is in retirement. And this is something that I kind of anticipated, but I didn't realize how much it would affect me. But it's like someone was saying earlier, it's the freedom that you have once you're retired. You can plan trips, you can go places. I'm not tied down to any one place anymore. I mean, I don't stay on the road. I have, I come home and I'm at home. But I also, if I want to plan a trip, like my son lives in Chicago, and I'm planning a trip in October to go to Chicago and visit him and his wife, my daughter-in-law. And so I'm able to do that because of the freedom that I have in retirement. I'm able to jump in my van that I call Ethel. And the reason I call my van Ethel is because my van runs on diesel, not Ethel. But also my grandmother's name was Ethel. So it's kind of a nod to my grandmother. But I'll be doing some videos about my van because I didn't really build it out when I went on my trip in January. January was my celebration trip where I went out to Arizona. And there's a series of videos on my channel about that trip, and it's called Road Trip Videos. So if you go on there, you'll see Road Trip Video 1, 2, 3, 4. But that's my trip. That kind of documented my trip to Arizona. And then since I was already out west, I decided to go a little bit further. So I went further and went into Nevada and went to Las Vegas and got to see the store where the Pawn Stars have their pawn business. So there wasn't nobody there that is in the show, but I was able to go and see the place where they do the Pawn Stars, and I thought that was really neat. I enjoyed that quite a bit. Colin says, "No place like home, Sam, especially if a person has been in the pits of hell." Yeah, I have served in war zones, and it was not something that I had a choice about. My last duty service, my last service, last part of my service was I went to Kyrgyzstan, and that is not very far from Afghanistan. And I served there for about 9 months. I was in Kyrgyzstan at Manas Air Base. And since then, Manas has been turned back over to, you hear that? I bet you always hear those ambulances because there's an ambulance company not far from here, and you can hear them go by all the time. But I was in Manis, and there was a fence around the compound, and it was not a place that you could just go off base. You were restricted to the base. They did have a couple of trips off base where people could go in groups, but it wasn't something that you could just spontaneously do. You were kind of it felt a lot like I was a prisoner. I mean, honestly, when I was there, I did not have the freedom to leave, to go anywhere, or to see any of the country when I was there. So, so it felt very much like I was in some kind of prison compound when I was there. It wasn't a great experience for me. And Colin, Northern Iraq. So you served in Northern Iraq. That's a tough place to go. But by being able to be on my own schedule, I'm able to plan trips and to go different places uh, so of my choosing. And that is a really good thing for me to be able to do that. I love having the freedom. And because I planned financially, I have a little bit of money where I can use that money to take trips if I need to or if I want to. I'm not stuck here because I don't have any money to make any trips. Renee and Todd says Gitmo Cubo surrounded by minefields. Yep. So Todd knows exactly what I'm talking about. It is when you serve in a war zone. And I was in the Philippines at Clark Air Force Base when I was active duty. And I was stationed in the Philippines for 3 years. And during that time, there was a lot of time when people were locked down in the Philippines. And so it was because Americans were being targeted. And there was a situation where one American was shot in the back of the head in a downtown area. So they kind of locked us all down. And so we weren't able to go and do things like we used to. So it made it very restrictive. We weren't able to just go and travel wherever we wanted to. But in planning for retirement, I did do some things that were right. Like I said before, I found something meaningful for me to do in retirement. I didn't meaningful and purposeful for me to do in retirement. I didn't plan to just go sit in my easy chair and lean back and go to sleep. I planned to do things like manage my rental houses and to sell on eBay, which is a lot of fun. It's not work at all when you do something that you really enjoy. So I found a lot of meaningful things for me to do in retirement. And when I was working, um, a lot of my income was being saved for my secondary IRS, individual retirement, what is it called? Individual retirement account, IRA. So I was saving a good portion of my income into an IRA so that I could be more prepared. Now, I'm not utilizing that IRA yet. That money is just going to be sitting in that account for uh, as long as I can keep it there. I plan on doing. I'm 56 now, so I'll be able to start drawing my Social Security when I'm 62. So I will also plan on drawing my IRA at 62 as well. So that money can just sit in that account and continue to draw interest between now and then. So I'm hoping that as I get older, that I'm pretty sure that money will be there, but it will also allow me to increase my income as time goes on in retirement. So if you're not contributing money outside of your pension or outside of your work plan, then I encourage you to contribute money to an IRA so that you'll have that as a secondary source of income when you retire. Also, a lot of things, one of the big concerns of people who are retiring or who are considering retirement is, will I have insurance? In many cases, the younger folks these days don't have those services that like I did because of the pension and retiring from the state. I have insurance from my state employment, but also being a veteran, I have the VA where I can receive medical services through the VA. And I got these glasses right here through my local VA. So I didn't have to buy glasses, which was a really good thing because glasses are very expensive. And so that helps me out quite a bit in retirement, that I'm able to use the VA, and I also get my medication from the VA. So Colin says, CG anime fan, brilliant. I'm new also. This is a fantastic patriotic channel. Some great advice. Thank you so much, Colin. I appreciate that. Tim says, I appreciate all of you sharing your experiences. It is refreshing and it helps me get a bigger perspective and not just from my own view. For me, I saved all of my raises to the 403B. That's a really good thing, a smart thing that you did, Timothy, to take that money that you get in annual raises and put that into your IRA, or increase your contributions into your IRA or whatever you're doing to save money in retirement. That's a really smart thing to do. And Timothy says, it was tight but worth it. My nose is running a little bit. As I said at the beginning of my live stream, I am under the weather a little bit tonight, as you can tell from my voice. I wish I felt better. I actually thought about canceling tonight's live stream and postponing it till next week. So you may have seen at some point during the day today, you may have seen where I had postponed on my live stream, but I decided to go ahead and do it. CG Anime Fan says that Colin McMahon, it looks like a very good channel. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. And Colin at Timothy Beck, amen, brother. So when I was working, my budget was really, really tight. I had a very tight budget. I lived on way, way less than I made. My monthly expenses were less than $1,000 in my last working years. And I took the rest of that money and I invested it as much as I was allowed to do. I invested it into an IRA. And I think that will come in real handy later on when I start drawing that at the age of 62. Tim, thank you. Glad that I didn't cancel. I'm glad I didn't cancel too. It's always good to see you guys on here every night. I appreciate your encouragement and I appreciate your friendship. Gumball Gold Jim says, my wife and I will have to move to Mauritius in the future because of free healthcare. As you know, We have no health insurance because it is too expensive. Yep, health insurance is very expensive, and I don't know how you're able to do that with the rules with Obamacare. Um, I hope you feel much better soon. Thank you. Thank you, God. I thank God you came in, Sam. Thank you. Well, so that was one of the things that really helped me prepare for retirement, is being able to live on such a low budget. When I did retire, I was able to continue to live on the budget that I had set for myself when I was working. And actually, I think I have more with my pension than I did when I was working, because I'm not contributing as much into my IRA. Now, I'm not contributing anything into my IRA. It's just sitting there and growing. And if you're not familiar with it, I encourage you to get a Roth IRA, because the Roth IRA, you pay taxes up front. And when you draw it, when you get it back, it's tax free. So that money just sits in an account and draws interest over the years. And when you finally draw it out, it's tax free. You don't have to pay any taxes whatsoever on that. Yes, sir, Sam. Wisdom and the truth is priceless. Yes, it is. Jim says Obamacare doesn't have affordable rates. It's the same rate as my sister and husband pay with his jobs plan. Yeah. I don't know that Obamacare was a really good thing. It does now it requires people to have insurance who were uninsured before. So I don't know much about Obamacare, but um, if that's all you have available, at least you have some type of insurance. But I think as you get older, insurance becomes more and more important, because healthcare is going to be an issue as you get older. If you have some kind of major health issue and you don't have any health insurance, it can really put you in a bad financial situation. And you really don't want to be in a situation where you owe the hospital $10,000 just because you had to make an emergency room visit. Colin says that Gumball Gold, yes, indeed, it's all socialist infliction on our country. Yeah, I'm not sure about Obamacare, if it was a good thing or if it was a bad thing. But I'm just really thankful that my workplace offered Blue Cross Blue Shield for me to continue that into my retirement. It's been real good, because not only do I have insurance for myself, but I'm able to continue to provide that insurance for my wife as well. And she would not have insurance otherwise, because she's self-employed as a karate instructor. She runs her own business. You hear that ambulance? That's the second time tonight. It gets, sometimes I don't even hear it, but when I'm doing a live stream, it gets kind of annoying. Well, guys, I think I'm going to close out a little bit early tonight. I hate to leave before the hour is up, but I am still feeling pretty under the weather, and my voice is just not holding up real great. But I want to thank you all for being here tonight. I thank each and every one of you for subscribing to my channel. I thank you for the likes, and Colin, I thank you so much for that $20 super chat. That was very kind of you. Not necessary, but very kind. Colin says, Chapter 7, it happened to me years ago. No insurance, no medical issues. No insurance, medical issue. Yeah, it can drive you to bankruptcy if you have a major medical issue and you don't have insurance. I hope you feel better. Thank you, Tim. And Rat Stash says medical bills can bankrupt you. That's for sure. Colin says, feel better, Sam. Colin says, cheers, everyone. And thank you. So, guys, I'm going to go ahead and close it out for tonight. Again, I thank you all for joining me. I appreciate you all so much. And y'all come back and see me next Sunday at 6:30. I'll try to have another live stream where we can talk about stuff. Hopefully, it'll be something that is interesting enough to keep your attention. And for those folks who are not retired that are on here and stuck with us through this, thank you all so much. I hope that you're able to take something away from this, even though you're not yet retired. Hopefully, you can take some of that information and be able to apply it to your planning for retirement, because it is so important to plan for retirement, because failure to plan is plan to fail, is what I've always heard. So good night, everybody. I love you guys, and I will see you on the next one. Bye-bye.